Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for having me in.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out. And you drove out from where?
From Belmont, Iowa.
From Belmont.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Wright County, 4th Congressional District.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been involved in Iowa politics for a while. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say since 2022, April, I joined the Lincoln Highway Young Republicans.
Okay.
Yeah, Lincoln Highway Young Republicans, and became an Iowa delegate or a delegate for the state of Iowa at the National State Convention last year as well.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And then since 2022, that's where, I became part of the Dallas Republicans and helped out with the Perry Project. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we may have met. Did you come out? I wonder if it was at a Vivek event.
I believe it was a Vivek event.
Was
it?
I believe. Was it Royal Flooring or?
Yep, that's where it was. I was thinking Nikki Haley, but I think you're right. It was Vivek.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. Because the Lincoln, Lincoln Highway?
Yeah, Lincoln Highway Young Republicans.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yep.
So I understand that you came, or you're a citizen, or you're under the DACA letterhead or acronym.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is DACA?
So DACA, it stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals.
Okay.
This is something that what's that term? What's everything that Trump is signing right now? How do you call that?
Executive orders.
Executive order. Yeah. So it was an executive order signed by Obama.
Okay.
So, being here for so long, I understand the effects of it and how it was unconstitutionally done.
Right. Right.
We're aware of that. But this is something that has granted my family, myself, my wife as well, the opportunity to be here in the United States, somewhat legally, since 2012.
Okay.
So a little bit of a background of myself, and if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah. Give me some background.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
So I was about 8 years old when my family, my dad had migrated to California to try to provide for a better lifestyle. And when I was 8 years old, my mom decided to, make that move. She sold the house that she had built and just wanted to offer me a better opportunity, So my only concern there was I was afraid of flying. That was my only concern. I didn't know that I was going to be illegally, here living in the United States or anything like that. So, at 8 years old, I came over to the United States, lived in California for about 2 months, went to school there, and my mom wanted to go back to Mexico. The United States wasn't what she was expecting. She wanted to go back to Mexico. She missed her family and all that stuff. And once we moved back to Mexico, we realized that it was not the best choice, education-wise, monetary-wise, economy, just the crimes and all that stuff. It just wasn't, what she was hoping and expecting for myself. After seeing myself going to school already for like a couple of weeks, and just a big difference, So
what were the biggest differences?
Well, the biggest difference, so like for example, down there, I had to walk to school, for example, and there's no roads. Everything was just dirt roads, So just the simple fact of her seeing myself walking to school miles and miles to get to school and seeing my shoes just being extremely dirty, versus where in California, the school was just a couple blocks away and, clean environment, the school is just so much more beautiful and everything. The education provider is just something, top of the line compared to, what's offered in other countries. So I recall her saying that was one of the biggest things, that's when she started reflecting and saying, wow, how can I take this away from my son, So whatever, I don't know exactly what happened. I know that she still had a little bit of money left from that first house that she had sold. And I think she just got rid of everything and tried to come back again. So when we came back, we lived in California for like another couple of weeks. And then we moved to Indianapolis. And that's where we just had some relatives, some friends in Indiana. And that's where we moved to in 2004. And that's where I went to school, started school in 2004 in 4th grade. And then
how did you get back when you came back?
So now I understand the process, right? But during that time, we enter the country illegally, and that is the truth, right? So somebody was hired, somebody was paid to bring me across. Now, the way on how I came across was they paid somebody to bring me over in a car, somewhat legal, but obviously it was illegal because I wasn't a U.S. citizen. So I did not it wasn't a bad timing for me, compared to a lot of people that walk across the desert, or they don't have the funds or anything like that. I was blessed enough to, just sit on the back of somebody's car and, being transported over, which, there is that risk, that's the risk that a lot of these people take, a lot of parents take, because you don't know if you're going to get kidnapped, or get, traffic or whatever it is, you just, her as a mom, they just handed me over to a person that just brought me legally to the United States, or illegally, but brought me over to the United States.
Did you know the people at all? Or?
No. I wouldn't. I don't even know where they're at right now.
Right.
Yep. No, I did not know them. All I knew is just that a lady, that crossed me. I sat in the front seat, and she said, "Pretend you're asleep." Okay. Right. So this was the hardest thing for me because I can never hold my laugh. Just holding myself, pretending to be asleep. It was a challenge for myself, but I recall just being on the on the passenger seat. And, the lady just went across and she just said that like, "Oh, that's my nephew." And I guess maybe the guy in the border was part of the deal. I don't know, because that's just kind of how it is. And that's the reality of it. Sure. A lot of people are in it, and yeah, I just recall her just calling somebody right away and saying, "Hey, we're across the border," and her saying like, "Man, we should have thrown your mom in the trunk, because it was so easy." That's what she said,
Wow.
Obviously at this time, I didn't know exactly what was going on. I was 8 years old. All I knew is just that now I'm in California and I'm on my way to seeing my dad, because my dad was the first one that came over to the United States. And I would say maybe within 24 hours, I was sitting with my dad. They did the money exchange. Matter of fact, they had me rolled up a whole bunch of bills around my waist.
Wow.
Inside my the shorts that I was wearing at that point of time, which I didn't know, until my mom just probably told me like, "Hey, put this on." I put them on, and then when I got across, she's like, "Hey, take off your shorts because the money is around your waist." So,
wow.
Yeah, that's just kind of how that went around. So
how long before you saw your mom?
So my mom, it took a couple weeks for her to cross the border.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they tried multiple different times, and I believe the last time that she, when she was finally able to come across, and with all the respect, right? But obviously, there's a lot of people that are, Mexicans and citizens, unfortunately, in this trafficking, because that's really what it is. I recall it was a serviceman that had a nice Corvette, and he had military credentials, and they just gave my mom somebody's citizenship or somebody's car. And I recall they took her to the beauty salon, got her all pretty and everything. She got on the passenger seat, and they just crossed the border right there and then. That was that's when she was finally able to pass. But before that, I think they tried putting her in a trunk, and they caught her, and then I think she tried like 2 or 3 different times before she finally was able to come across. And the whole time she's just in Tijuana. So I don't know if you're familiar with Tijuana.
I'm not.
But horrible place. Obviously a lot of trafficking, a lot of drugs. The environment is completely different. And she was just, young 20-something-year-old woman, in the middle of nowhere, had just handed her son over to an stranger, and her tried to coming across. So that's not excusing anything, but in our case, we were in chase for the American dream, I guess, in a way, so that's my side of the story. Not to get too much out of topic, but like, for example, my wife's side of the story, she, so her parents were done with American dream, right? They went over Mexico. The mom was pregnant. So in this case, I can really say that my wife was used or wanted to be used as an anchor baby, right? Because the parents knew that that the mom was pregnant, but they were done with America. They say, "Hey, we've been here for so long. It's time for us to go back to our country and try to start things fresh, right? And just try as best as we can." So Sophia's mom, that's my wife's name, Sophia. Sophia's mom was pregnant. Sophia, they crossed the border. They were in Mexico, and sooner than later realized that life was not the same.
Right.
Yeah, life was not the same. It was a struggle right away. And I recall my father-in-law staying in, he would visit the local McDonald's often and just sit there broke, and to mentally prepare himself and try to find ways on how to come across the border again, just so that he could offer a better future to his family. So Sophia, in this case, she was born in Mexico, and after 8 months, same thing, her parents crossed the border again, illegally. I know she was handed over to an stranger as well. And Sophia has been here all her life. She's been here since she's been 8 months old. Sure. All she knows is the United States. But unfortunately, she's she's considered an illegal immigrant because there's still no legal status under her,
So how does that work? How does DACA work?
So DACA, all DACA does, it does not grant us a legal status. So I wouldn't be considered a U.S. resident, neither a U.S. citizen yet. All DACA does, it delays a deportation. That's all it does. It delays deportation. That's it. But they haven't granted us a legal status. Now, what a lot of people don't understand, Oliver, is that during Trump's administration, the previous one before Biden went in there, he wanted money for the wall, right? And he asked all the Democrats, hey, I need a certain amount of money for the wall. And if you grant me this money, I will fix a pathway to citizenship for over 800,000, people like myself and like my wife, right?
Right.
And the Democratic Party say no to that, So we could have had a legal status, or something more secure, but we haven't. When I graduated high school in 2013, I was part of MCJROTC in school, and I tried what's that term? I tried enlisting, or asking, to
be in the military.
Yeah, to be in the military, to be in the Marines, and they said no, because of my legal status, even though I was a DACA recipient, but I wasn't a resident.
Is it? And I've also heard that you can't really get licensures, like if you wanted to be a certified electrician or
what
I don't know about that, but or some sort of like a nurse or
well, the thing with that is that so for example, my wife and I, when we graduated, we really wanted to go to college, but we just didn't have the choice. Like, we had to pay out of state tuitions. Right. And there was really no grants or anything like that, to help us, with that pathway towards
so you couldn't
getting a further
qualify
education.
For grants because you weren't a citizen.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that? I mean, you weren't able to go to college, and you educated since you were 8 here in the U.S. and your wife her whole life.
Yeah.
I know that Trump had mentioned actually something about wanting to do something to help DACAs find a good pathway to citizenship. What do you know about that?
Well, what I know is that he's been the only person in the past 8 years that has even mentioned or considered that topic. Before the previous administration, before that time frame, before he left office, he had talked about it, and he had talked about wanting to do a pathway to citizenship. I know that previous to that, that's when he needed money for the wall, which we know that it was necessary, right? He requested money, and said, hey, if you give me the money, I would try to do a pathway to citizenship for these guys. That didn't go through because the Democratic Party didn't want to grant that money, which now we know that it was very much so necessary. But as of right now, we're just kind of on hold, Oliver. There's really not necessarily any explanation or any way. I've spoken to immigration attorneys. There's many people that are willing to sponsor me. I've earned it. And these people are so kind enough to offer sponsorship, but that's not how it works. There's only 2 ways. Either you are born, you have a kid, and then you can fix through your children, who are U.S. citizens. You can fix that way, or the second way, you have to marry a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
And in this case, for example, my wife, she's not a U.S. citizen and I'm not a U.S. citizen, so we can fix through that pathway. And we don't have any children just yet. And even if we did, they would have to be over 18 to start the process, but it doesn't go through till they're, I believe, 21.
Wow.
So we wouldn't be able to go that route either. And there's just really no other route.
Do you know how many DACA or people under that category are in Iowa right now?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I wouldn't know exactly in Iowa. I know that last time I checked, I think there were between 700,000 within the United States.
In the United States.
In the United States. Yeah. And I would say about 97% of those 700,000 were employed.
Okay.
And some of those had higher education, and some of those were,
Right.
The thing about DACA recipients, we've been doing this since 2012, Oliver. So I believe that a lot of us have proven ourselves. We've proven ourselves. We pay taxes. We have no criminal records. And with the open border policy within the past 4 years, we're seeing. For example, last time that we renew our working permit every 2 years. So every 2 years we have to pay and to renew our working permit.
Okay. What kind of process is that?
So the process for that, you can start applying. I believe it's 4 months before your permit expires. And once you start that process, you have to pay for that application fees and sending 2 different applications. One is going to be for a background check, and the other one I believe is going to be for a working permit. And then you just send those in, and just kind of wait for either an approval or a denial. Right. So, a lot of us, like, for example, Sophia, she's every time she sends hers in right away, she gets it, just because, her record has been super clean. Me on the other side, I don't have a criminal record, but I've gotten multiple speeding tickets before in the past. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but this previous time that I tried renewing, it took about 6 months for myself to get renewed. So I was actually let go off my job. My driver's license was expired, and it's just one of those things where when people say do things the right way, we're trying to do things the right way, but there hasn't been the opportunity to get it across, I guess,
It definitely needs some work, our whole system, our whole immigration system.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, Oliver, would be just, so a lot of the things that we're asking, or that I personally ask a lot of people, believe me, I'm all for just flying the only flag that is worth it to be flying, right? The American flag. And that's just plain and simple, right? Either you fly the American flag or you don't, period. Either you're part of the team or you're not, right? So I do believe that there's a lot of us who are part of the team, have proven ourselves to be part of the team, that want to be part of the team to a better extent. I mean, if they would have granted me the opportunity to join the service, if I hadn't died yet, I'll be 10 years in the service, Oliver. I would have loved that. Personally, you have no idea how much I would have loved that, right? I mean, just the training, that experience, providing something different to my family, but I feel like the topic hasn't necessarily been touched a lot, and I feel that if we embrace it and we unite, right? I mean, there's so much. I mean, my wife and I is a perfect example. I mean, we fly the flag with pride. We love this country. We learn how to love it. We fell in love with America. You know what I'm saying? We fell in love with the opportunity. We fell in love with the people. We fell in love with the culture, because there is a culture, right? To me, the culture of America would be everybody waves at you, for example, or at least in a smaller town. You don't find that anywhere else, right? It is a topic that hasn't been touch a lot. Trump has been the only one that has talked about it. I mean, I know that previous a couple months ago, the Biden administration, they talked about Obamacare or something around those lines for like DACA recipients. I mean, they granted like 2 or 3 things for DACA recipients, but none of those 3 things that they apparently implemented, so that we could take benefit of don't necessarily benefit us, right? I mean, I haven't left the country in over 20 years to visit any of my family members in Mexico, right? Because with DACA, you're not allowed to leave the country. You can only stay within the United States. So, I mean, I've never spent, and my wife and I don't celebrate Christmas because of our faith, but I've never spent like a full family gathering, with our families or anything like that, because we just haven't been able to leave the country.
Or you do?
Oh, we don't.
What's your faith?
So the roots of my faith are Hebraic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hebraic. So if I, not to get into it much into religion, right?
No, let's talk about it.
But there is the house of Judah and the house of Ephraim, right? Sure. And from the house of Ephraim, that's where the gospel and the Gentiles and everything comes in place. So, the roots of our faith are Hebraic, and personally, there's more feast that the Bible does talk about it for us to celebrate, like the Feast of Trumpets. Pesach is coming out, the Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles and stuff like that. There's all these feasts that we are meant to, celebrate. And that is part of our faith and part of the Christian and Catholic faith, but we haven't embraced it so much for whatever specific reason. So we dive deeper into the roots of our faith. And, there's no, I understand why people celebrate Christmas, right? But there's not necessarily anything saying that Yeshua HaMashiach was born, on the 25th of December, know? So there's that.
Interesting. How did you and Sophia meet?
So, I lived in Indiana, and I was going to school, and a really good friend of mine, she lived in the same apartment complex, and we were really good friends, a whole bunch of high schoolers, right? And then Diana ended up moving to Belmont, Iowa, and that's where she met Sophia. And then we would still be in touch and stuff. She'd be like, "Hey, Jose, there's a pretty girl over here in Iowa." And she would tell Sophia the same thing about a guy over there in Indiana. So we started talking, and then, the roots and the culture from our Hispanic, and that's why with everything that's going on right now, Oliver, is just seeing a whole bunch of people flying the American flag and burning flying the Mexican flag and burning the American flag is just something that we are very against. Very against.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this group of people don't represent us all.
Right.
But I guess I don't know why I was going in there, but yeah. So
Well, and that's the reason. One of the reasons we got together today, I think, is our mutual friend Kelly thought the timing was good because we were seeing these protests everywhere, people flying the Mexican flag, like you said, burning the American flag, stopping traffic, causing riots, and I know she said that deeply troubled you as a Hispanic person who's part of the Republican Party, who really cares about our country.
Yeah.
So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So everything started doing, just started going to our local government, like city hall meetings and city council and all this stuff, that's just kind of where everything started, doing a lot of local volunteering, So I'm a member of the board of directors for the Belmont Growth Alliance. And,
Okay.
I live in Belmont, Iowa. So for that town, actually, I just got in there. Our first meeting is going to be here in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm all for our communities. I'm all for like the American flag. There's a lot of respect for our servicemen and women. They don't. They fight for all and they defend all whoever's inside the border. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that we are very vocal about. That's something that we know very well. That's something that we embrace, right? So seeing right now all these protesters and all this Hispanic community being offended, which I understand. Don't get me wrong. There's things that I understand, but they're not doing things the right way. And because they're not doing things the right way, their actions are going to affect us. And that's where our concerns come. You know what I'm saying? Because, to me, my question to them is like, okay, so like, what do you expect? Right. So you want to protest, right? You want to be heard. You want to be noticed. You want to fly the Mexican flag, right? You want to burn the American flag. And then what? What are your expectations? What do they expect from all of this?
And what are they protesting? I mean, it's my understanding that the people that are being deported are criminals, and that's good. The big focus, right, is criminals.
So the big focus, and that's what a lot of people are saying right now. So for because we compare Obama, right? Obama, I believe he was labeled the deporter in chief or something like that because during his administration, I believe he deported over like 3-point-something million people, right?
Yeah.
So what a lot of people are saying right now, they're saying no. Obama specifically went for the criminals. Where right now, they're going for the criminals, but if there's a non-criminal that gets in the way, they're also being taken away. Okay, and that's just kind of where a lot of the people are getting this uproar, right? So there's no empathy, right? So I started seeing a lot of posts and like, so I understand where I'm at, right? So I understand a lot of things that a lot of people don't understand, right? But when you're seeing, if they're in your churches, deport them, and they're in school, deport them, they're anywhere, deport all illegal immigrants, I guess the hurt from a lot of the Spanish-speaking community is just like, well, what difference is that from the Holocaust, right?
Are we seeing that?
We're seeing that. Yeah,
oh, really?
We are seeing that.
Okay.
Yeah, we are seeing that. We are seeing that. And like I said, personally, I try to understand both sides of the picture where a lot of the people, a lot of our Spanish-speaking community, a lot of the times all they do is just see the one picture. And the problem that I think here is, Oliver, so during the Perry Project, when I was going to Perry, Iowa, when I was driving from Belmont, Iowa to Perry, Iowa 2-3 times a week to reach out to the Spanish business owners,
what was the Perry Project?
So the Perry Project was an outreach to the Spanish or Hispanic American community, within our communities that do have business, right? That, pay taxes, I guess, that have no representation, because, if we look deeper into the state, there's nobody necessarily representing the Latino American community.
Right.
They're not, and these are communities that, I'm not saying every single one of them, right? But the hardworking, the law-abiding, the taxpayer, the business owner, I do believe that they deserve a little bit of recognition, and they're not. We're just being labeled and being generalized as either you're legal or illegal, period, right? No, they really don't care. So With the Perry Project, I was going to the Latino-owned business owners, and then just kind of educate them. We were doing door knocking for Zagnon. He was running. That's when he was running for Congress, man. Yeah, for the office, and a couple other House representatives. And just asking them if they agree and disagree with what was happening. With the policies being implemented and with the new administration. And I would say about 90%. Oliver, of the people that I know that understand what's happening are Trump supporters, right? Because they've been affected very negatively by the previous administration. The problem here is that during that time, I tried reaching out to the radio stations, Spanish-owned radio stations and newspapers, right? And they were all very against it. They were all very against Trump, right? And they were very close-minded. So we have about 90% of the people that are for Trump that understand what's happening, that believe in the improvement that we can be part of. But then we have the other 10% that is being manipulated by all these radio stations and all these local news resources that are just feeding the negative and bringing that fear to that community. And I feel like that's why all this protestings are happening, not in the best way, but in the negative way. Because what positive could we get out of a whole bunch of people standing out, blocking the highways and burning the American flags? What positive could we get out of that? Right. But is this local groups, is this local news sources that are saying like, hey, do it, do it because, so
they can sell papers and radio
and that's
ads.
really what it is. I'm telling you firsthand, I spoke to them. I talked to them. I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're opening the doors to the state capitol. We can go and talk to our people. We can go and talk to the state representatives. We can go and talk to the governor. We can get their attention. Like, the door is wide open.
I think there are some things the state can do. I have a friend who's a immigration attorney from Omaha, and we were talking about things that the state could possibly do here in Iowa, to possibly make it easier for someone with DACA status to get licensing and to have, higher ed jobs and things like that. And he had some good ideas. So I think that's something we need to look at the state level as well. And, what I heard about you is that they would have these events with, Hispanic events, and then you would translate, and then you would get people excited.
Oh yeah.
That you would translate whatever Zach was saying or whoever, and then people would get excited that you had the ability to kind of excite some of the Hispanic population.
Well, and that's the thing. I do believe if I'm giving that acknowledgement, I consider myself to be an asset to the team in general, because I'm all about making Iowa strong. I'm all about making Iowa great. Obviously if we were to reach out our local or our state level, and if we were to make an influence, Iowa has to be the number one and the first, right? And I believe that. I believe that we have, an opportunity, if the opportunity is granted to us, to make that happen, right? But the thing about me, I was born in Mexico, so I know the culture very well. I know the people very well. I speak and write the language and everything. So, a lot of these things that a lot of us, we stand for, the people stand for, but they just don't know that they can. They don't know that they have that access as much as you and I do, right? So when we would go and have these events and like let them know, like, hey, this is what's happening. This is what we're standing out for. This is what we're doing. The people, of course, they get hyped up. And the thing is that our culture comes from that background. I don't know if you ever saw any videos of Trump going into any Latino-owned businesses, but you can tell the energy is just, our culture is very, very energetic, right? If we put that energy into, and just look at what's happening, with all these protesters, obviously the energy is there. They're not doing it in the best way. But if every single one of them were flying an American flag and saying like, hey, like, don't send us back, acknowledge us or whatever, or like give us the opportunity, they're already doing it. They're just not doing it in the right way, right? So if you go back and you see a couple of those videos where Trump would go into, let's just say, a McDonald's or with American communities, like, oh, Trump is here, great, thank you, we'll take a picture. But you see Trump walking into a Spanish-owned or Latino-owned business, the energy is 100% different. Like, oh, Trump's in the building, like, let's go, yeah, like he's
like
here.
Their favorite soccer team.
Absolutely. And that's our background, So I feel that if we're able to reach out to this community and like guide them properly, and that's just one of the things I feel that we need guidance with wisdom, intelligence, and integrity, right?
Right.
And the problem is that the guidance that this community is getting right now at the moment is obviously there's no wisdom, there's no intelligence, and there's no integrity, right? By burning the American flag, what integrity is there in that?
Right.
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 So yeah, there's just, I don't know, hopefully. And you know, I appreciate you having me here. You know, I know that was one of the opportunities to just have a platform to where people can actually hear, you know, what we have to say and, you know, kind of judge based on that, you know.
Ideally, what would you like to see happen with, one, within the state of Iowa, and two, within the country, as far as mitigating this in a way that's more balanced? And
so this is something that I have in mind, and you let me know what you think. There's two groups of people, Oliver. There's a group of migrants that migrated in the last 4 years, right? And a lot of them, and I'll tell you firsthand, don't give a crap about the United States. They only come here very entitled, wanting a whole bunch of resources, right? And this is people that I know. I'm not speaking based on what I don't know. I'm talking on things that I know. So Wright County, where I live, we have one of the largest egg producers, and we have two of the largest hog producers in the nation, which is Versova, and then we have Iowa Select and Prestige Farms, right? I would say two of those companies about 10 years ago, their workforce was about 90% illegal immigrant. And that's the truth, right?
Wow.
And now this is people that migrated here in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? I mean, we're talking about 10 years ago. We have all these people that now have their families. I would say within our county, I know at least 15 families who their children are first generation Jewish citizens and are serving in the armed forces, right? These are communities where they get pulled over and the first thing they do is go and pay their ticket. They don't want any trouble, right? So there's a big community that I'm willing to represent, right? And there's a community that I'm not willing to represent. Why? Because of lack of integrity, right? So if we put both groups in the table and we say, hey, we have a lot of people that migrate here in the last 4 years, right? And then we have people that migrate here in the last 20, 30 years and still don't have a legal status. Leave it up to the people. Who do you want to stay? Do you want the hardworking people that have proven themselves, people who already have their kids in college, you know, and our business owners, you know, and our entrepreneurs, or you want all these people that even got put before a lot of our servicemen and women, you know? I mean, it happened, you know, out of nowhere. We have, you know, there's no money, you know, there's a homeless problem and everything, and our veterans are suffering, right? But then out of nowhere, you have so much money to host a whole bunch of illegal immigrants.
Right.
That's BS, you know, with all the respect, right? So a lot of people don't want that. We don't want that. And I believe that if we put those two things on the table and we let the people choose, people are going to choose for the ones that have built these communities, right? That have been here for over 10, 15, 20 years and still don't have a legal status. So I think what I would like to see, Oliver, I would like to just be granted the opportunity for a U.S. citizenship. Personally, in my case, right? For myself and for my wife, and to secure the future of our children. Because even right now, if I was to get deported, let's just say DACA is over with, right? And now I'm just an illegal immigrant without any working permit or without anything, without any delay of deportation or anything like that. And I was to get pulled over for my light bulb was out or my light was out or whatever it is. And they come and they ask me, hey, you know, are you here legally or illegally? Obviously, my answer would be, well, I'm not here legally, right? Because my DACA status is not active or whatever it is. I am at the moment, but let's just say if that was to happen, right? And if I was to get deported, I mean, even if I wanted to run for office, I couldn't, because you have to live in the country for at least 6 years before you can run for like a, you know, for like a governor or, you know, for a state representative or whatever it is in Mexico. So I think I would like to just be acknowledged, Oliver. That's it. I would like to be acknowledged and be given the opportunity. And like I say, you know, when I was young, and even last week, you know, I called a recruiter again last week. I called him 3 times. They haven't picked up. But I wanted to see if anything has changed for people like myself, you know, because, you know, I had a conversation with my wife. I'm like, I know things are getting crazy. I know there's rumors of war, you know. I mean, I don't know where we're heading in the next years, you know, but I would join the service to secure our legal status here and the future of my children.
Sure.
You know, and even that opportunity is not granted. It's not available.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, man. I mean, I appreciate you coming here and talking about these issues, because it's right in the eye of the storm. You know, I mean, it's really easy to say, well, deport everybody, you know, and And it's easy to say, well, no, we can't. But there's something in the middle where we have to strengthen our border.
Absolutely.
Get rid of the criminals
Absolutely.
that have come through, the real criminals, the drug traffickers and sex traffickers and murderers and rapists and things like that. But somehow support people like you or even people that, are not criminals that just want to work really hard and that are good people. I don't know the answer. It's above my pay grade.
Right.
But I know that I feel compassionate. I have a nephew-in-law who's Hispanic and some great nieces and nephews. And I know during the Obama administration, my sister and her husband, they were traveling with my nephew-in-law, and one of the cousins was a young girl who had a lot of medical issues, and they legally brought her back on a visa and paid for the medical treatments and all those things, and got her enrolled in our local school where my kids went, and at some point they weren't able to get her visa renewed, and so they had to take her back, and then she passed away, and not terribly long after from the issues with her health. I don't remember the details, but I just remember thinking that's a crock.
Yeah.
We can't figure out how to take care of somebody like that. Yet, when we do all the right things and fill out all the right paperwork and try to do things the right way. And I've known people too that have been stuck in that limbo of getting a work permit, then being afraid to be deported. They have a kid that's 8 years old. And I appreciate anyone that really wants to work, and really wants to make a good life for themselves. We have, if we were to do something incredibly drastic and I know that our construction would suffer, our food service, we've bred a population of kids now and taught them this school to college pipeline. They have no interest in using a screw gun or learning a trade or things like that. When I was a kid, American families were in the trades. I grew up hanging and finishing drywall, and it was all families. But at some point, families weren't doing that anymore. They didn't want to do it anymore. They were, they got their cell phones and their Game Boys and their this idea that there's a stigmatism to being a construction worker,
right.
And when there are some really great trades and careers in those,
Absolutely.
in that pathway.
Absolutely.
So, and that went to immigrants that came in, those skill sets and the desire to work, so somehow we have to balance it.
And I think, so one of the things that I think is that there's nothing for something. I don't know if I'm saying it right. So this is the thing, one of the things that hopefully, if we can make a movement, right? And if we can speak up and if we can get, mindsets alike, to make things happen and make that change and have that growth. One of the things that I do believe is that it is important that our Latino community gets involved into, for example, our school districts, right? Because let's be realistic. I mean, I live in Belmont and there's about 30-40% of the children, they're immigrants, right? And they don't speak the language, right? So as a Latino parent, how can I expect to send my kids to school and not get the proper education, come back home and then have a bright future, right? Now, this is the thing. If the school district was to hire an extra 2 bilingual paraprofessionals or like an extra 2 bilingual teachers, you're talking about an extra budget of like $120,000, $150,000 a year. Where is that money coming from? Right.
Cutting DEI.
Right.
Get rid of the 4 DEI administrators.
Yeah, absolutely.
Add a couple of those teachers.
Yeah, I believe that would be great. But I think also that our Latino community could help out a little bit more.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
So help out either monetarily or whatever it is, but help out, right? Help our districts, help our school departments, right? Help children just in general get better education, because I was a paraprofessional in Indiana before I moved here. And I've seen it. I was a bilingual paraprofessional, and there's a lot of these kids are just sitting in the back, I'm interpreting, I'm showing them, but I'm not there all day, right? So they're not getting the proper education. And then once I'm not there and they come and need the time of the teacher, whoever's in the class, then they take away time from the rest of the kids from then getting the proper education, right? So things like that are things that I believe our Latino community need to step up and say, like, okay, you know what? We brought this to the table, but we can bring a little bit more to the table to like help everybody else the same, right? And we're not doing that. Right? We're just here like, oh, we deserve a citizenship. Oh, you know, we need this, we need that, you know, or like, oh, you know, we build your homes, you know, we cut your grass, you know, we do this, we do that. And it's just like, okay, sounds good. We understand that you do a lot of things, but we can always do more, right? We are, and the goal is to make America great, right? And greater and greater. So I believe that there's opportunity. We just need to find the right resources and the right way to get everybody on the same page and keep moving forward.
Oh, for sure. And what made you feel like the Republican Party was the way to do that? What attracted you to the Republican Party and the values of the Republican Party?
Well, first of all, even with you, Oliver, I mean, I've been extremely welcome, and that's the truth. You know, I've never seen any racism. I've never seen any division. You know, if anything, I've been extremely welcome and given the opportunity and just a platform. Look where I'm at right now, right? I do not play the victim, right? And I do believe that a lot of the people do play the victim, right? By saying, and this is where I argue a lot with our Spanish community. They look at Trump and the Republican Party and they're like, oh, you know, the Republicans are racist. The Republicans are this. The Republicans are that. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. Let's just say they are, right? Let's just say they are, right? Let's just say Trump is, right? Or let's just say the Republican Party, which is not, right? But let's just say it is.
Right.
Well, how do you call yourself being a Mexican, being patriotic, saying that you love your country so much, and you support the narc music, and the narc music is a real thing. I don't know if you're familiar with narc music.
What is that?
So the narc music is just music that embraces the narc trafficking environment.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So for example, there's a song by a very known group, which is called Calibre 50, so like 50 caliber, that's the name of the group.
Sure.
And one of their songs, for example, it says, he was trained to kill, to behead, with style and with class, right? And the song in Spanish goes like, fue entrenado para matar, para torturar, con estilo y con clase. That's how it goes, right? So to me, you know, when I hear music like that, and then I see thousands of Mexicans playing the same song, or like the radio stations playing this music industry, it's just like, if you're saying that they're racist, then you're a hypocrite, plain and simple, plain and simple. And once we touch that topic, there's no debate, because it is the truth. How can you claim to love your country or to love Mexico or to be so patriotic for Mexico, but you embrace this music that has made Mexico what it is? You know what I'm saying? And with all the respect, I mean, I went to school with a lot of black kids, right? But it's the same thing. How can a lot of this, not to, you know, get into a touchy topic, right? With all the respect, but it's just like our black community, right? How can you expect for people not to use the N word when you're using it 20, 30 times in every single song? Right? That's hypocritical. That's the truth. That's very hypocritical. So I think that is the same thing with the Spanish community. So then we have this group of people that, oh, this is, you know, there's this and that, but then you're supporting an environment and you're part of that environment that has made the country of Mexico what it is right now. And the thing is that it's true. I mean, my father-in-law, he's gone to Mexico and you see the trucks driving around with the cartel logos, and you know that there's the cartel and there's nothing that nobody does. You know, so me coming here and just being so welcoming, you know, and understanding that the values are the same, which is God first, right? Family, right? Love and respect, golden rule, you know, fighting for our communities. And when you're fighting for the communities, you're not just fighting for a race or a color. You're fighting for a community where there's everybody's in there. Right. Now, if more people were to get involved, right, then we can make bigger changes. Right. But that's the problem, that people don't like to get involved.
Yeah, and that's always a challenge. You know, we look at the average age of our central committee, and it's older people. You know, there's not a lot of young people there, and so there's a concern that you know, we have to somehow bridge the gap between, you know, the young Republicans and the central committees and kind of foster that idea. And like you said, you know, it's respect for merit. It's that merit idea. I mean, I have the ultimate respect for anyone that wants to improve themselves and to work and to be out there as a force for good, you know. So, and I see that too. I see with the same thing you see in that respect. And somehow we have to bring more people into that idea of thinking. You know?
Yeah, no, and I think I would like to be part of that. You know, I would like to be part of that, being young, you know what I'm saying? Being a minority, I guess, if you want to put it that way, you know, just take advantage of the whole idea, you know what I'm saying? To just make stuff happen and, you know, make changes, positive changes, because everybody's going to benefit from it.
I think you're going to be a big part of that.
God willing.
That's my prediction right now.
God willing, for the glory of God.
Yeah, I think after this interview, I'm going to send this to some important people, and I think people will appreciate what you have to say. You know, and I think it's a complicated issue, and we have to, especially, you know, as a state, I mean, there's things we can do at the state level to try to sort these things out and make it fair for people. And it's a difficult conversation sometimes. I met with a legislator the other day who's a good friend of mine, and I've met with legislators across the board and had this conversation, and we did disagree on some of it, but because there's mutual respect, you know, you're able to have that dialogue. Absolutely. And I think that's the right way to do it. Legislators are, what people don't understand is they're very accessible. Mm-hmm. I mean, I sent an email this morning on a bill that was going through subcommittee today, and I posted a public comment and emailed the, because I wasn't going to make it because of this interview, I emailed the subcommittee members, and I got a phone call back within an hour. Mm-hmm. Saying, from a senator saying, hey, you know what, your email was incredibly kind and well thought out. I want to talk to you about this bill. Wow. You know, so people want to attack their legislators. Right. And what they don't understand is that doesn't open the door to conversation. Right. You know?
And I think that's a big, you know, embracing what you say right now, you know, and I feel like that's what we face as Latinos, right? We just speculate. Right. There's so much speculation. And then there's me saying, like, I'm very optimistic, right? Right. So there's so much speculation. There's me like, no, like I said, I tried reaching out to the Latino community, you know, the Latino radio stations, and say, or like, hey, give me some time to answer questions, right? So that we can get this group of people, you know, that's doing all this protesting. I mean, imagine if we had the same amount of people, but doing things the right way, trying to reach out to the legislator, right? Or trying to reach out to just the state in general, you know, to hopefully make some type of change or consider some type of
emails, phone calls, public forums with people like you leading the charge.
Absolutely. And that's what I would like to do. You know, just we'll find a way, I guess, one way or another.
We'll find a way.
That'd be the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the angels. What are the angels?
Oh, the angels. This right here is just the Saint Anna Angels jersey. Yep. So my dad gave me this shirt probably about 10 years ago or so.
I assume that's a soccer team.
No, this is going to be a baseball team.
Oh, baseball.
Yeah, baseball.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if they're very big or not. I don't follow them at all, but my dad gave me this, and I thought today would have been a good day to just kind of have him here with me. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Is your father still around? Or?
Yeah, he is still around. He lives in California. You know, and so like, for example, my dad's just another perfect example. You know, he migrated here in early 2000s. Does not have a legal status, right? He dedicated all his life to work, to send money, to provide the best that he could, but then he just got caught up in the lifestyle. And that's the thing, like in California, so like, for example, a lot of these people, they leave the house like at 4 or 5 in the morning, and they don't get back to like 5, 6, 7 a.m., you know, p.m. every single day. And that is the lifestyle. If they want to get somewhere in life, that's just what the sacrifice that they have to do. So my dad, he got real sick once, and he lost 2 fingers, and you know, there's just really no future for him in America. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he does not have a legal status. He's just pretty much just waiting to get deported at this moment. You know, he can't work. He does little work here and there, you know, side hustles and stuff, you know. I mean, he does construction. Right. So, you know, there's a guy that like gives him a little bit of work here and there, you know, and that's kind of how he tries to maintain himself. But he's disabled, you know, he lost 2 fingers, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, eventually he ended up getting let go of work, you know, and you know, we just ask for a little bit of empathy. That's it, you know. Instead of generalizing either you're legal or illegal, like, let's generalize it. Well, what's illegal, and who are we specifically talking about? Right. And that's what I think, you know, because this is the thing, Oliver, all of the people that I know are not 100% for all this community that migrated here in the past 5 years, 4 years. Right. I mean, like I said, you know, I was let go of work for 6 months. My working permit took an extra 6 months. I renew a working permit every 2 years, and a lot of these people that are crossing over automatically are getting a 5-year working permit.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. They are. So, you know, it's a big slap to the face for a lot of the people, a lot of citizens, a lot of veterans, you know, and a lot of DACA recipients like myself, you know. So how can we make that change? You know, how can we, that's why I think, you know, I mean, if we leave it up to the government can say behind the scenes, you know, just leave it up to the people. Who do you choose? Who do we fix? Or who do we acknowledge, at least to a pathway, right? To a brighter future, I guess, in America. This group of people or this group of people? Let the people choose. And the people will tell you, like, hey, you know what? Get rid of the people that migrated here in the past 4 years and help us, you know, establish the people that have been here for the past 20, 30 years that still don't have a legal status, that have, you know, helped and built a lot of communities, you know, and, you know, they just want to be acknowledged and keep making America great. I mean, that's it. I don't know of anybody that wants to be acknowledged and do something wrong in this country. You know, I really don't. You know, everybody that wants to be acknowledged is just to have that freedom of being a United States citizen.
What does it mean to you to be a citizen? I mean, if it could happen tomorrow, I mean, what would that mean to you?
Well, I'll tell you what, and you know, I hope not to get emotional because it is an emotional topic. You know, I mean, like I said, you know, my wife and I would say there's nothing more that we want than to just become a U.S. citizen, and that's the truth. You know, now, what does that mean to us? It's just gonna be just have the liberties, you know, and the freedom to just keep building our lives and not be concerned about where to build it, but just have the freedom of just keep building and then just keep growing and just keep developing one another, you know. We don't have any kids yet, right? We don't have any kids yet, but, you know, if we were U.S. citizens, we wouldn't be fearful or afraid of what's going to happen to our kids, you know. Should we even have kids, right? Because, I mean, if it's not in America, do we want to have kids in Mexico? Is that what we want? I don't think that's what we want. You know what I'm saying? Right. So
I do.
You know, just be able to be part more of our, just be able to offer more to our state, you know what I'm saying, as well, you know, show more support, you know, because being a U.S. citizen, you know, now you can run for office, right? Now you can represent, now you can become a state representative, right? Now you can represent a specific group of people, right? But until right now, I mean, there's really not much we can do, you know? So when I talk to a lot of my friends, you know, and I try to educate them and we debated this and that, you know, I'm like, dude, take advantage of your United States citizenship, right? Because the privilege is not brown, white, or black. The privilege is to be a U.S. citizen, you know, and that comes with so much liberties, you know, and so much freedom that people take for granted.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming out here and driving up here to sit and talk about it and to bare your soul to us a little bit. And I hope that we find a way. I hope that Trump finds a way. I hope that there's the way to balance this and that you and your wife can become citizens here. So
no, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, brother, and thank you so much for coming up.
I appreciate you, Oliver. Thank you so much. Yeah.
God bless you, and I know that we'll be working together on something.
Yeah, no,
soon.
Absolutely. I would love to. Yeah.
All right, brother.
We'll make America great, and we'll make history.
Yeah, we'll make Iowa great too.
We'll make Iowa great.
Oh, it's already pretty great. We can always room for improvement.
Always room for improvement.
God bless you.
God bless you, Oliver.